commercial, and of course we were going to talk about this last week, and I told Jimmy to come on last week too, and then they ended up playing CS:GO instead.
Yeah.
But the last couple weeks have been a roller coaster, to say the least, for CS:GO. First, we had Kaylee and a couple other players get banned, vac banned, after about a quiet month since that was it Emilio? Was he the guy who was first one banned? I believe back in October.
During the tournament,
During a tournament, that was the thing about his. But thus making it so Epsilon and Titan couldn't even participate in DreamHack, and then we got to DreamHack itself, and we had the craziness with Fnatic, and then the final was super hype, so there was many ups and downs.
It's insane, man.
It's just nutty.
But and the reason I wanted, of course, Jimmy's been in that scene for a long time. Like the cheating, like how deep does this go? Like, do we think, like, is this it? Are we done with these bans? Because rumor had it there was going to be more right around when those came out.
I mean, I think anytime something like that happens, like give it a week, right? I mean, see who else falls out from it. This particular ban wave was all VAC bans, but they were initially apparently involved with ESEA. Yeah, so ESEA runs a very different way than Valve does. ESEA is much more intrusive in a good way. Like, it's a very, very good anti-cheat. You run a client outside of the game, and that's how they were found. I don't think Valve's going to roll out more bans. If they had them, they would have already rolled them out. I mean, ESEA essentially gave them a list, said, here's how we detected it, and bam. And they found them that way. Not to say there aren't other cheats out there, other ways that people get an advantage that way, but I don't know, man. It's weird to me because, I mean, I've competed a lot of tournaments, I've been to a lot of LANs, casted a lot of LANs, and I've never once in my head been like, oh, that guy could be cheating. I mean, we're on LAN. This guy's sitting right, he's fucking right there. And like, it really bothered me when I heard about all this, but at the same time, it wasn't the biggest deal. Like, it turned into the biggest deal. It sucks. It's a horrible thing for CS, but a lot of games, if something like this cropped up, it would be a short conversation on Reddit. But CSGO has been growing so rapidly, and there's such a huge spotlight on it right now that it just blew up into this massive thing. And it was really scary because, like, sponsors start dropping out. You've got MLG getting involved, and a lot of people that are just coming on the scene that could still rip that contract up. So I'm glad that didn't happen, at least yet.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like, if you're a pro player, why even?
Well, I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, well, they were cheating on LAN or this, that, or the other. I mean, there's still no specifics, and that drives me insane. Like, people like, I love, like, I go on Reddit and people are like, we're a Reddit army and we're going to demand Valve give information. And it's like, no, that's not the way they work.
About you
do that, because then cheaters will know everything, and then
Plus, Valve doesn't give a fuck about anyone on Reddit. I'm sorry. Like,
sure.
That's the other thing. It's like, yeah, sure, they read feedback and community feedback and stuff like that. But these people, the other funny thing is, like, everyone, and this is kind of true because we're going to talk about Fnatic pulling out of the tournament here and forfeiting to LDLC because of there's so much to talk about. But it was funny on Reddit. Everyone's like, great job. This could never have been achieved without Reddit. Yeah. And it's like, oh my fucking Lord. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, the biggest thing is how these were found and everything else. Everyone wants to get all the information out in public. Whatever, shut the fuck up. That's not going to happen. The biggest thing is the organizations need to know, right? I mean, that was something that I can't remember. It might have been, was it Titan, or I can't remember whose press release it was, but they said that they desperately need to know because these guys are contracted. A lot of them are. Not every pro player is contracted, contrary to popular belief. They're salaried. They are representing organizations and sponsors. They need to know when they cheated and exactly what it was. And these players aren't always going to admit it. And just the organizations need to know that from a business standpoint. Yeah. So I would love to see Valve do that in a press release, at least coming from organizations saying that they gave us relevant information and, like, we can now make a decision on how to move forward with all this. But yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, essentially what this was, it was a 0.5%. It was like a 1%, 2% boost to someone's ability. This isn't someone running around with invisible walls. This isn't someone running around with ESP, knowing what guns people have. This is similar to what people call a trigger bot. So if my crosshair goes over a player, it'll shoot for me. That type of thing. But it's just correcting the tiniest bit. But when you're already one of the best players in the world, it's a huge deal. Yeah, I mean, as much there's that big thing right now. Everyone's like, oh, Cloud9 can't compete at national level. Take all those guys at a just individual skill. These guys can aim just as well as everyone else. Throw Hiko and Shocks together and they'll shoot at each other and they're going to be about 50-50. So if you take that into consideration and say, we'll give one of them 2% boost to their aim, it's a huge deal. And it's really hard to see.
Yeah. It'd be insanely hard to catch.
Yeah.
So this launch, so obviously just set the stage if you don't follow the CSGO scene. So we had these VAC bands come out. This was we had Kukli, as Sasha calls him, or whatever, Kaylee, get VAC banned, and then we had, was it SF, who was on Epsilon, and before then it was S on the German team, right? SMN?
Yes.
I believe so. Who was the one that started kind of talking about that there was these private cheats that were being sold for a large amount of money to these players, and that there were probably 10 other players in the professional scene, at least. He had a list of people that cheat. So everyone was really concerned when DreamHack, obviously DreamHack is a huge tournament, and up to date we figured it was going to be the highest viewed tournament in CSGO's history, possibly, which I think it did end up turning out to be. And it was really cool. I mean, one thing that I think DreamHack did really well was that Scoots and Thorin and everyone, they addressed it right away, right when the live stream started. They talked about what was going on, and they said, this is the elephant in the room, and we are doing everything. DreamHack is ensuring, along with Valve, that there's basically just no way to cheat at this tournament.
Yeah. So what really they did, I don't know if you heard when they went over specifically what they did. What they did was the reason players still had skins is because they whitelisted certain servers that Steam could connect to. It couldn't connect to workshop servers, and it could connect so they could log in with their account. But it couldn't connect to the workshop, for instance. I don't think there were friends lists or anything like that. It was just
that's the way tournaments have to be run, man.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it was baffling to me. And we had this discussion in my stream last week and a couple weeks ago. It was baffling to me that tournaments hadn't, because people were saying, well, who is loading configs? A person at the tournament should be loading a player's config for them. If there's a config file that they have, for mouse sensitivity or whatever it's going to be, you need to have a third party putting that USB drive on there and seeing what this is or whatever it's going to be. Why, if that wasn't being done, that's a huge oversight. Secondly, why is there should be some sort of Steam client. You'd think with the massive popularity of Dota 2 and CS that there would be a tournament offline Steam client kind of thing. That would only whitelist these servers automatically. It shouldn't have to be a thing they have to set up. This should be what's loaded onto these computers. So, I mean, if that stuff wasn't being done, then, that's a huge problem anyway. But that's what they have to do, right? Sure. So
yeah, I mean, it's for a lot of reasons, man. I mean, even cutting yourself completely off from a friends list prevents so many DDoS issues. This is an example. That pretty much eliminates it. If you are not opening Skype and you are not opening all these direct message software and you don't have friends list, how the hell are they going to get information? So that's step one. That should have been done a long time ago. But what's great is that at least Valve is recognizing and doing something. I mean, even though it's a direct response, it's very much in the moment. They've tried to fix it right there. But I mean, all the way back in 2006 or 7, we played at WSVG. And Thorin actually in his video brought up when he was talking about this whole cheating incident. Yeah. That these admins, they really need to be on, maybe they're not on top of them or whatever. Admins used to scare the shit out of me. I'm not. Yeah. I kid you not. We would sit down and on the desktop they would have all the games that were on the Steam library that were going to be played on these computers for group stages and stuff, and they would have 2 registry files. One would be CPL mouse fix, no CPL mouse fix. You could click one of those, and admins were standing right there. And I swear to God, I got yelled at 10 times. I did nothing wrong. They're just like, "What is that? What are you doing? What is that?" And we go in, and you can't open console. They don't allow you to do it. Yep. You have to do everything through the menus. If you can't do something, you need to call the admin. They're going to come over, and they're going to watch you change everything individually. Problem with that is that was in a day and age where not every match was covered. And your Twitch streams weren't huge, so the delays weren't that big of a deal. So that is kind of a problem, having admin stand over your shoulder. But even it sounds like in this circumstance, an admin wouldn't have stopped anything. Just because, it's a workshop, it automatically downloads to your computer. So That's shitty. I'm glad to see Valve doing something. I hope that it becomes available to other tournament organizers because like when we run SoCal Revival or something, we can't do that without Valve support. Like they'd have to be there on site with this client and do all these other things.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was either a custom client or a custom registry to have Steam route through those servers, which were whitelisted. But yeah, it needs to become available. And and going even further onto this, for those that then had DreamHack Winter, of course, this huge event coming up 2 weeks after. Two teams two of the top teams end up not being able to compete in Epsilon and Titan due to these bans.
To be fair, Titan is essentially LDLC at this point.
Yeah,
so.
Right. The names are interchangeable.
Yeah, exactly.
And then during one of the semifinals, Fnatic versus LDLC, it was it 1-1 on maps? Yeah, we were on the third map, Overpass.
Yes.
And Fnatic used a boost, which when it happened live, everyone was just like, this is either genius or the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
I was sitting there like, what the hell? Why have I never seen this?
It's a pretty obnoxious boost.
Yeah. And they could see the entire map. They knew all the information right away. And they could snipe from it as well. And LDLC had no idea what was going on. Zero clue. It was like, it must have been the most frustrating thing. And Fnatic ended up
LDLC up to that point was
up 12-3 or something like that.
Or 13.
Yeah.
13-3 because they won pistol.
Yeah, they were up huge, and then this boost happened, and Fnatic took the map easily. So mainly because of the boost. Who knows what would have happened, if they hadn't have had that. They may have come back anyway. Fnatic's ridiculous. So I mean, you don't know.
It's possible.
But so then everyone started looking into this boost. This is legal or not to tournament rules. It was determined, I believe, that it was a pixel walking glitch was used, which is against DreamHack rules. It's in the list of things you can't do, I believe.
So what turned out, it was pixel walking was legal.
Okay.
Pixel walking turned out to be legal, but it turned out that because they hadn't seen this boost before, they called it an immortal boost. Whereas that the player can't take damage or whatever from that spot, and so that's why it was deemed as an illegal boost then at that point. But pixel boosting was basically the tournament admin said that it was legal. So so it wouldn't have been an issue if it hadn't been an immortal. But then this is what happened. So then they determined that they were going to play from before that boost started. I think that was the first decision. They were going to play from 13-3, I believe.
Well, there's a lot of back and forth, and there's also two boosts involved. Like there was one
LDLC.
There's LDLC. There's Fnatic side. Like the one that you were just talking about, people could actually see through, and this wasn't apparent in the live stream. Like as a caster or watching it from another perspective, they could see through walls. And I don't even know if they knew that. You're just hey, I can see Terra's head all the way across the map, but you're actually looking through 34 walls. Yeah, I think it was Lurpus that tweeted the picture of him going through free cam all the way through the path, and every time he moved, he was looking through another wall. It's oh my god, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, right. So after the match, everyone was like, "This is fucking nuts." It was a huge blow up on all sides. LDLC launched a formal complaint.
Yeah, they challenged. Basically,
turned out that they had also used an illegal boost in the beginning, which they didn't know was illegal either. When either team did this, they had no idea it was illegal. Although the Fnatic one was completely ridiculous. But the fact that, to me, there's several things here. Then this all blew up, and then we saw the lack of PR control on these teams in the most full effect I've ever seen it. NBK tweeting a bunch of shit, which no one knows if it's true or not, but just the most whiny, just... As a person who wanted LDLC to win, I was like, shut the fuck up.
Well, and he's such a nice guy, too. So, he really went ham. It was crazy.
Yeah, he was going crazy on Twitter. They interviewed Devilwalk, who's the manager, ex-player on Fnatic, right after the match, and he had the most shit-eating grin.
Yeah, it didn't help. So and this is all
they should not have talked to it. He should have said, no, I'm not going to do an interview.
Going into the tournament, Fnatic is basically, was the hated team. And because of the witch hunt and stuff happening on Reddit with people trying to find other pro players that are cheating,
Fnatic, they just needed to be very careful because of Flusha. Like
exactly.
they had everything to lose already.
So you add that everyone thinks Flusha cheats and even during the tournament is making these gifs of Flusha looking at people through walls, and people are like, oh my god, he's cheating on land. And then you have this happen where they use this boost that turns out to be illegal, which I agree. I don't think they thought it was illegal. They obviously used it in the match. If they thought it was illegal and they were going to get disqualified, they wouldn't have used it. And so you have that where everyone's like, wow, LDLC got robbed. And then you have it looking MBK tweeting things that they were only allowed to talk for 30 minutes.
Which, I mean, no one knows if that's...
And no one knows. Yeah, exactly. They kind of explained that. And then, so it created this holy fucking shitstorm on, was that day 2 of DreamHack? The second day. And kind of going into day 3, everyone was just like, this is a fucking mess. And it felt like it. I think it felt like it at the time. Because where it ended was that they ruled that they were going to start the match over at 0-0, which basically I don't think, other than the Fnatic players, no one was happy with, or Fnatic fans. Everyone felt like it should have been 13-3. And so that was like the great injustice that everyone felt was going on. And so really, I was saying the best case scenario in that situation was that LDLC, at least for DreamHack, like LDLC just wins that match straight up, and Fnatic does not advance. Because if Fnatic advances in that situation, people are just going to be like, "Well, it was a farce," and they cheated or whatever. So.
Well, something I noticed from the whole thing was like the lack of centralization for news. I mean, and once again, I go back to Reddit. Everyone keeps Reddit.
Yeah, I know.
Is where people go right now, and
that's true.
I had so many questions from people like, "Are they going to replay it?" I'm like, "I'm not there. I don't." A, stop fucking asking me. I don't know. B, like there are places to look. Like people aren't going to HLTV.org. I mean, it is a really big site. Don't get me wrong, and ESEA is there as well. But most people are going to Reddit, and shit's getting downvoted or like doesn't make it to the top. And it was known that Fnatic actually forfeited the match. They put in an official forfeiture. They said like, okay, we're not going to play this. But so many people didn't know that, and so many people were confused, and it was so much anger for a lot longer than it shouldn't have gone on that long. Like it got way out of hand. But the good news is the tournament ended up okay.
Yeah, the tournament ended amazingly. It's one of the best majors finals I've ever seen.
I tweeted when this was all going on, I was like, this is the least professional and worst thing that could happen to CSGO, like right now, is this current thing with this boost and the way these teams are handling it. I was like,
anything you worry about with all of
right
these
after the cheats and stuff, like
yeah.
And then the final was ridiculous.
Saved CSGO's face for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did. And like that was the big thing. And I think people thought I was like half joking, but I actually even tweeted I feel like I've been waiting for CSGO to have some major controversy before I had faith in it. Like see if it could survive something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean 1.6, there was drama and shit everywhere and it was big, but it wasn't this big. No. And I mean, if to scale, sure, but there weren't this many people involved at that time. And it survived all kinds of drama and all kinds of issues. There were fist fights with famous European players that still play today at local LAN centers. Thank God Reddit didn't,
get a hold of that one.
It would have been front page in a moment. So I think it's really cool to see a lot of people just put that all aside, along with the fact that all these people that don't play CS that I follow on Twitter and that I know were just stoked. They had no idea. It was like the international for a lot of people. They're like, I have no idea what's happening, but it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So it's
really
good.
easy to follow what's happening in CS, which is why it's such a special game. Like Dota. While I love the international because I understand Dota, I feel like non-esports fans can't really get into it.
Absolutely. And
Counter-Strike, it's so easy for everybody to get into it.
And actually,
just hype as fuck.
Yeah, and real close point to that is a lot of people play FPS, they can get that. And if you don't, you shoot a guy, right? And he dies. And you have a scoreboard in front of you. It's great. But even outside of that, something I noticed myself, and I actually want to ask you guys, is while I was watching, the commentary almost went like to the background, right? Like when I go if I go watch a NCAA game right now or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like I don't hear the commentator until it's hype. Even though he's there the whole time, he's explaining every play and the analytics of it. That happened to me this time. And I don't know if it's because I've been watching so much CS or if it's that the commentary is getting to that good of a level.
I think a lot of it was Tosspot, to be honest. I believe that's the guy's name that was doing most of the commentary.
Well, I think it was Anderson or Tosspot.
They were switching off.
Tosspot does it like he's doing a sporting event, though.
Sure.
Like he sounds like a dude calling a football.
He
game
also
or
has,
something.
Tospa has a lot of really pregnant pauses where he'll let the action play out and not talk as much, which I think is interesting.
And Anders and Summer, of course, amazing.
But. Yeah, no, it was good. But yeah, no, I agree with that too. And I think, I was really. It was just so stressful leading up until, the way DreamHack ended up working out. And people can debate whether, as far as like Fnatic, there was a lot of people that felt like Fnatic shouldn't have actually forfeited, that they did at least deserve to play it. Not a lot of people. I shouldn't say a lot of people, but there are people who feel like because of the Reddit hate and because of the reputation already taking such a massive hit, which I think that was a major factor, obviously. Basically, their statement was, we respect the game too much and this tournament too much to be a distraction, and so we'd rather pull out. We don't really even have the passion to play in the same.
And it was the right thing.
It was the right thing. I totally agree. It was.
But here's my whole thing: is like I follow a pretty major investor in various gaming things on Twitter, and he was basically like, I would not touch Fnatic with a 10-foot pole if I was the sponsor right now. Like I wouldn't go near this team. There's too much toxic stuff, even if the cheating stuff is all, it is all allegations right now. But if nothing ever comes to it, I still want nothing to do with this team the way they acted, after that match, the way that all this was handled. These teams, like, there's some growing up to do. That's for sure. As CS has been around a long time, but like now that.
At the forefront.
But never had a spotlight like this, and this is what what's going to happen. You're either going to get professional or you will get dropped. Like,
CS:GO viewership is nearing League of Legends right now.
It is,
and
absolutely.
that is a very special thing. But a community like Counter-Strike that's been so grassroots for so long, like they've never really had to please sponsors. They've never had to do any of this shit. Like when you listen to CS:GO players' comms, like this is the most basic thing there is. Whenever they do a bunch of damage to a guy, they all of them, it's almost universal, that guy's raped catwalk, something like that.
Yep.
And like that's not okay. You can't say that. So
yeah,
it's an adjustment.
The same problem.
Yeah, it's an adjustment period for these players.
Yeah,
and the good thing is that like some of the biggest figures in the space are very bright and very well spoken, and they can kind of help push that change forward. Like if you look at Jordan, nothing. He's a perfect face for that game.
Yes.
He really is just like, he's a phenomenal dude. He knows the game really well. He can communicate really well, and he understands what people need to do to continue to grow the game.
Yeah, and that's actually something that a lot of people talk about, the whole iBuyPower Cloud9 thing, like who'll be around and everything. If sponsors keep going the way they are and the viewership keeps going the way it is, you have, and once again, God forbidding these guys are watching because I know most people on a pretty good level on iBuyPower, but dear fucking God, if you ever listen to any of their individual streams, like I almost feel like Steam messaging them, be like, this isn't okay. Like, what if Steel Series is watching right now? Like, what if iBuyPower? It's like, really, you can't. And it's mostly a North American thing.
Yeah,
they're bringing back the one guy on their team who can maybe help solve that problem in Adren. Probably like, I don't know. He's another one that needs to be. He's another one that needs to be kind of at the forefront.
Well, and we're seeing people like Volcano as well. Like Sal is coming back to top tier teams now in North America. So like it's cool to see that we have the generation of Counter-Strike players that have been doing this, in front of cameras for 5-10 years. So that's good. Good news.
And probably the most damaging thing to Fnatic, to me, I mean, just for the sheer ridiculous arrogance of it and what these teams need to do as far as PR and letting, like, you need to filter shit. You really do. This is like Ubisoft levels of incompetence as far as PR. Blush's statement on Facebook blaming the CS:GO community for him losing passion. Bro, they are the reason you even do this professionally.
Yeah, but
they have given $1 million.
I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon either, though. So everyone's all up in arms about like, oh, you shouldn't. I agree. That statement is definitely not.
That should have never gotten published.
Should have never gotten through. Should have never gotten through. But as reading this as someone, and true, it's so funny now the way because Reddit is just such a fucking circle jerk of fucking retards. I can't fucking handle it. But so right now, like it just depends on when you click on the Global Offensive, and we'll see like one day it'll be like everyone is convinced he's cheating from every different rank, every different professionals are calling him out, and then now today he finally responds and he puts out a statement, and now all the top voted ones are like, you know what, maybe Flusher really isn't cheating. Like, what if we're really not giving this guy a fair shake? And it's like, no shit, because there's no in between. It's just everyone just fucking jerking off to whatever opinion they they agree with at the time. But so I understand from his perspective, like if Flesha doesn't cheat and hasn't been cheating and really is unlucky and really does just have that mouse movement and that correction that he does, you really are. I mean, essentially, you are vilifying this guy and ruining his career before a back ban or a league ban or whatever else. And so there isn't any kind of there isn't any kind of middle ground on the internet. And so for him to say, I mean, if you're getting death threats from people, which he's claiming that he's getting, I can totally see that.
Yeah, but here's my whole thing, dude.
You were going to react like he did. You're going to react and say, and I understand what people are saying, like you shouldn't have said that because that just looks like he's saying the whole community is shit. But I mean, I have never had death threats yet on the internet, and I'm pretty sure if I had death threats on the internet from the game that I play for a living, I'd be pretty upset too.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You think, and this is a comparison at this point. Yes, these guys aren't making as much money and they aren't as famous. But if you don't believe that this is basically pro sports as far as like how you need to act, then like you're missing the point. I bet you $1 million fucking Sidney Crosby on the Penguins gets death threats from stupid people all the time. But that's part of the deal, dude.
Part of the job, yeah.
Like, absolutely. Like, there's definitely some maturing to do. But I mean, I'm just saying, just put yourself in that situation, especially from not having. These are accusations. These are accusations. These aren't proven. And this is a guy who before this there was no problem with Fnatic. Like people were like, Flesha is he's a great player. Until obviously the back bans from Kaylee and some of these other things started happening. So I do feel like in a lot of ways, and I'm not saying I agree. I think a lot of the stuff that Flesha does has looked very fishy, and maybe he has cheated in the past and stuff like that. But I can understand where a statement like this comes from. I agree though, Dan, with you. It should never have, that shit can't get.
What I love about all of this though is nobody on the fucking planet called any of these kids a cheater until some bullshit news article popped up saying that here's a list of players who are possibly cheating. So anyone out there now that's saying, well, that looked like a cheat, shut the fuck up. You had no idea before, and just because there's some accusations, it has nothing. You have no grounds. That's the biggest thing. And from a security standpoint, the bans were rolled out. I mean, like it was absolutely caught. So if they're not banned and there's nothing, just fuck it. If they are caught, they're caught. They did cheat. There's no way around that.
And the other thing I find really interesting is that like when these quote unquote guys who are coding the cheats come forward, right? Reddit for a lot of Reddit just takes it for face value. These guys are coding cheats and fucking ruining the game that you guys love. And then it's just like, well, I mean, he said, fucking Supex or whatever the fuck the guy's name is, like he said this guy cheats, so. He must.
Take it.
I know.
Yeah.
It's some guy. It's like, really? Like, I don't...
fucking coding the cheats, and you're gonna just take his word for it? Like
you can go make a Reddit post as long as you can write well enough to make it seem legitimate and convince people that you've sold cheats to pro players right now.
Oh my god.
You could do that right now.
Beyond that, I kid you not, I woke up on my birthday. November 9th, by the way. Woke up on my birthday and I had Steam messages. I've blown up. I had like 43 tabs open. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And everyone was posting me this Reddit post. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And so I click on it. And I look and it says fake stream giveaway. And it's this 3 paragraphs about how I like apparently took someone's money and didn't give them something. And it was on the front page.
Yo, what the fuck?
Damn it, Jimmy.
And it was on the front page of a subreddit with 100,000 people with a link to my stream. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And just because someone didn't contact me and let me know they didn't get something, they go on Reddit and they say something, instantly I'm getting messages and shit. People like, how's this going? You asshole, you fucking moron, or you're killing the scene. I'm like, I don't get it. And that's infuriating to me. Yeah. Sorry, that was a tangent. I didn't mean to.
No, Dak, this is not stating the obvious. We're talking about Reddit because Reddit is how people get their information. So we can't overstate that you can't take what happens on Reddit but like you're saying, Jimmy, like Half-Life TV is good and stuff like that. But people go first and foremost to whatever the top articles are on Global Offensive, and that's how they get their information. And there definitely needs to be, and there are people like Thorin, and there's a lot of people that actually do content that is actually has like informative in both sides and looks at the whole thing. But that's not where the bulk of the community, and this is a budding thing. So I don't want people to get the impression that if you go to Global Offensive, you can be super well informed on exactly.
You're all acting like Reddit isn't known for its detective.
No, I know, but what's crazy about it though is Reddit.
No, I'm joking. Reddit is terrible.
No. Well, I know. I'm sorry. I was countering your actual sarcasm, but like. Okay. A lot of people in CS has always been big, man. Like I dare you to find someone who's like, oh, I didn't play any CS. Like everyone plays CS at some point. So now it's growing again. People don't know where to go, and now they're not maybe familiar with Reddit, so they go there, and it's just growing and growing and growing, and it's driving me insane.
Yeah, and but these, I mean, yes, it's growing pains, and hopefully,
R.I.P. Gotfrag.
Hopefully,
yeah, I know. Scott, help.
I know, Jimmy.
I just like these players, especially if you're on Fnatic right now, you should probably shut up for like the next couple weeks. Like you shouldn't say anything in public. The Pronex post is pretty good, like, but it's just you just should not say anything right now. You need to learn. As someone who follows the FGC, much of the same growing pains are happening there as well, though it isn't as big as CSGO is just blowing up right now. But the fact that people are having to clean up for sponsors, all that kind of stuff, that's all.
Well, yeah, it's been a problem in COD forever as well. Anyone remember Check My Bank Account? Like just cursing out the entire crowd at MLG? It's like, you can't do that.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, I mean, it's a growing thing. It looks like, league, but to me, it's like some of these same organizations have league teams and stuff, and you're not hearing this out of them a lot, at least not publicly. I totally admit that I don't follow that scene as much. But I don't see, tweets about, League of Legends player says this horrible thing. Like, you just don't see it because the money is too big to lose.
The league scene has its fair share.
They got toxic people. Yeah, they have had toxic people.
They've had a lot of idiotic things said. So it happens too in league. But yeah, no, it's good. I mean, on the positive side too, real quick, we'll talk about this, but over 500,000, and obviously we're talking about more like Anion was talking about. How like in Korea and China and the rest of Asia, it's not as big. But for the Western video audience and Europe and stuff like that, that is really exciting for the game. And I think it's just gonna keep getting bigger. And like you said, Jimmy, that actually really encouraged me. We were talking about, I didn't even think about that angle before, but having CS:GO have a big somewhat of a scandal like this, or see how if it could power through.
It's a proving grounds, man.
It absolutely is. Yeah. So
it made it through because I was actually super worried after that. The other night, I was like, this could really sink a lot of shit. But the final saved it, man. It really did. What a ridiculous match between NIP and LDLC.
So
as far as the match, I'm looking for the YouTube video I have right now of it. Thorin and I, like 4 years ago, casted, I think it was SK Navi on best of 3. Yeah, SK Navi and DE Train was one of the best matches in like CS history. Like this series was fantastic. And it was just 2011. Okay, so it was about 3 years ago. And I haven't been that hyped about a CS match since then. Like this DreamHack winner final
was aching. Like
dude,
actually physically feeling something.
I know, like I was insane. Like I apologize for anyone who follows me on Twitter. Like everything was in caps and misspelled. And like I was freaking out. Like it was crazy. Went to think about every major final or even any final in CSGO. It almost never goes 3 maps or however many based on the format of the final. It never does. Whoever's going to win is going to win. And I'm not even kidding. Saturday, girlfriend was ready to go to the grocery store. And I'm like, look, don't worry. Whoever's going to win is going to win. Like it's the way it always goes. It'll be really quick. We'll get out of here. And next thing I know, it's 4:30 p.m. And I'm like, and she's like, are we leaving? I'm like, no, we're not. Like, not yet. Like I have to figure this out. We have to know who wins. So it was just insane. If you guys haven't watched it yet, go watch that VOD somewhere. It is.
Was she good with it? Was she cool with you?